Hello and welcome back to the Voice of Metal, where we talk about pretty much all things metal, but we also talk about classic rock and roll too. I mean, technically, without the founding fathers of metal itself, or I should say, or at least the old rock bands that we used to all know and love, they wouldn't have influenced a lot of our more modern day metal heads of the future, right? In the 80s and the 90s and stuff like that. So without them, they probably wouldn't have been inspired to do what they do so well. So we're going to go back in time to the 60s and early 70s for some of the bands that a lot of bands that influence some of the metal artists that we all know and love right now. Um, Black Sabbath is one of the top, which I totally agree with. They are as close to being a metal band without being metal. At least back at the time, they were pretty much the trend setters for metal itself, or at least a future of metal. Deep Purple is one I definitely know and I love too. Um, they're got this sort of feel and vibration to them when it comes to some of their music. And also, just so you all know, that one thing I do know, that's one of the bands that Metallica was inspired by when they were growing up and starting to learn how to play music. I'm not sure about all the other bands, which I'm sure a lot of them are. You'd have to probably just ask some of them. Led Zeppelin, of course, by far. It's not a super. These are mostly not metal bands, but they're kind of on the brink. Some of them are not, a little bit more metal, some are a little bit less metal because they're kind of 60s to 70s. Jimi Hendrix, of course, we all know and love Jimi Hendrix. Alice Cooper, for sure. The Who, which is one I have not listened to as much, but I do know some of their songs, and they're still really time honored classics. Aerosmith, of course, we all know and love. Um, and I didn't realize they were back around the early 70s, which is kind of cool. I didn't think he was that well. I know he's pretty old, but not as old. I don't know. It's hard to say, and I don't remember. Anyway, moving on. Blue Cheer. Now, this one I definitely have not heard, and I probably should, especially when I'm into a lot of music and everything like that. Um, Pink Floyd is another good classic rock band that probably influenced a lot of people that are into metal. The Doors, of course, we all know and love the Doors. I think even the most of the metalheads out there gotta love the Doors, right? Grand Funk Railroad. I think I've heard some of their songs, but I don't know if I know them as well. But I think I'd have to look that up and find out. The Kinks. The Kinks, I definitely know. I've heard some of their music. I just can't place, who they, what songs go to them because, like I said, the radio, you kind of listen to what was on the radio. You kind of might not hear the names of the groups all the songs that you've listened to over the years. Um, let's see where were we at? Grand Funk Railroad, The Kinks, Cream. That is definitely one I do know very well, and even Thin Lizzy. We cannot forget Thin Lizzy and Steppenwolf. That's number 14 and 15 on the list of actual bands that probably more than likely influenced our modern metal music that we know and love, like Anthrax and Metallica and Pantera and all those really great bands that we all know and love. Um, Steppenwolf, that was my 15. 10 years after is 16, which I don't think I know that one as well. So I'm gonna have to go down through this list myself and check out some of these groups because some of them I don't really know. I think I know them as well as I thought I did because I am kind of like I was born in 73, so this might be a little outside my realm when it comes to knowing some of these groups, but I'm sure I have heard some of their music before. 10 years after, 17 is UFO. Jethro Tull. I'm not sure. I think I pronounced that right, but I'm hoping I did. It's number 18. MC5 is number 19. See, some of these, all these ones at the very bottom, I don't know very many of them. Um, Auric Heap, I think, is number 20. King Crimson is number 21. The Yardbirds, that's something different, for number 22. Yes, excuse me, I'm pretty sure I know Yes. The Iron Butterfly is number 24, which, yeah, that's kind of different. I think I have heard something about the next one. It's called Velvet Underground. I don't know their stuff very well, but it sounds vaguely familiar to me, so we'll have to wait and see. Um, Moving on, number 26 is The Stooges. Now that reminds me of the Three Stooges, so I'm not sure if that's the same thing. Was there a a rock group named after the Stooges? Which came first, the Stooge or the Stooges? You know, the Stooges, the band. You know, it'd be kind of interesting to find that out, because they've been around for a long time. The Black, the Jeff Beck group. Now that one definitely is one I really don't know, and it's probably a real old classic rock and roll group, and I'm sure I've heard some of their songs before. Because a lot of these groups I've never heard the names of the groups before, but I'm sure I know their music really well. Especially usually with YouTube music, when you put in the name, you can actually find their most popular songs, in which if I listen to them, I go, oh, that's who sings that song. You know what I'm talking about, right? I'm sure most of you do. Um, Big Brother Holding. Big, was it 28 is Big Brother Holding Company? Okay, that's an interesting name for a group. Okay, is it Big Brother the TV reality show or Big Brother the band? And holding company, is this like a holding company for some sort of products? It's kind of interesting name for a group. Vanilla Fudge. Now that one, yeah, I don't know if I even have a remote idea what the songs would be for the Vanilla Fudge. Is it going to be like ice cream toppings and stuff like that, like strawberry vanilla shake, you know, this, that, the other with vanilla fudge? Who knows? It'd be kind of interesting to see what kind of titles they come up with in the music that they have, because I've never heard that one. And number 30 is Move. That kind of makes me think of The Maze, or whatever they call that. The one where they have this, I forgot what it is. It's like a trap where these people are put in this cube or something, the cube or something, and they try to escape, and if they do the wrong things, they end up getting killed, which is kind of creepy and kind of crazy. And so they're trying to help each other out, but then they're also not helping each other out at the same time. But we're going to go recap through some of these, because I went through them pretty fast. But Black Sabbath is like one of the all-time, I think, most influential bands of all time when it comes to, besides Zeppelin. I think Zeppelin and, well, top three are pretty, well, four. Okay, four. Jimi Hendrix, of course. Alice Cooper's pretty much up there too. So I guess like it's kind of hard, because a lot of those bands are really good bands. I mean, even if you don't like regular, well, so most people that like metal usually do like rock and roll bands, and Sabbath and Led Zeppelin are definitely no exception to the rule. I know my son is definitely a metal fan, and he definitely likes Led Zeppelin because his grandfather introduced him to him. So I think I need to tell my son he needs to show his grandfather some of the stuff that he listens to now, some of the more heavy stuff. I think that would be kind of cool, because you know, when I dated my ex-wife at that time, I didn't really lie to them about what I listened to, but I didn't tell them the total truth. It was more like I just didn't say nothing, and they didn't ask at the time. Later on, they found out that I liked metal music, but you know, I told them the reason why is it's just for me, it's an emotional thing. I think a lot of people out there that listen to metal are like that, you know, and I think if he likes Led Zeppelin, he definitely would like some of the bands that I've listened to. Because really, personally, I think that some of the influences that the Zeppelin had probably on some people when they were younger, listening to them saying, "Oh, I love the way this sounds. I love the way that sounds." The melodies, the chords that they use, and and that's the one thing my son's giving me a hard time about this, that I need to learn maybe some of the terminology, which I don't know, unfortunately. But I'm just big into listening to what I hear and knowing what I like and what definitely is going to work and what does. It's not so much the notes. It's not so much the pacing. Well, I don't know all the technical terms, but I do know I could definitely hum it, or do 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 do. Kind of make you do the sound bump 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 bump, and then bring it up do 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 do. Those kinds of things. That's not any particular song. That's just something I made up. But a lot of times when I do that, I kind of have this feeling what's going to be big, what's going to be huge. Um, and most of the times when I've bought the album, I usually end up making them super popular. Every single band that I've listened to that over the years have been some of the top bands out there. They're not just they're not some of the little bitty bands that are out there right now in the venues that are out there, which in a way I don't want the smaller bands to become huge, because I hate to say it, it's nice to be kind of nice, close, and personal with a lot of them, because they got some great music, they got great sounds, and it's like this one right here, Raven Black. Okay, this is their shirt, Raven Black. Well, I got there a little early for the concert, and you know what happened? She came up to me and says, "Come on down." It's like I didn't recognize her at first. I thought, "Wait a minute, is that Raven?" And I thought maybe it was somebody out front that's just hanging out. And I go, "That looks like her." I says, "Is that Raven?" So I said, "I didn't recognize you at first because I've seen a few non where she's not wearing her makeup for the stage, where she dresses up like this really cool, like kind of like twisted doll like character, I guess is what you would call it, or young lady. She was kind of like had pigtails before and a short dress and poofy shoulders and stuff. It was kind of cool. But some of those bands there that I really have enjoyed are not super overly priced with the venues they go to for the tickets. But there's enough to get to make some money, and they probably make more money off their merchandise, of course, which most of them charge quite a bit for it, for the shirts and things like that, which I don't blame them, because they got to make some money somewhere. And I felt bad for the two other bands, Owls and Aliens and Living Dead Girl. Both have some issues and problems with their vehicles, so I'm hoping that they made enough money to kind of keep that going. And also, I even talked to the lead singer of Owls and Aliens. I said I was going to say that some of your music was now some of it was all pretty really good music. I liked it a lot. I mean, they're not real well known. They're not the biggest band, but they did a phenomenal job. And actually, if you were watching my video shorts, the gentleman off to the far right is I think it was their bass player. I think that's bass. It sounded like it, but he was playing in the sound check, and I got so many views from just that one little clip, that one little short. They was playing somebody else's song. It wasn't one of their songs, but that tells you. And that was one of those bands. I forgot which one it was, what song it was, but I know it's one of these bands that influenced them as musicians themselves, along with all of us. So what we like, what we hate, what we kind of evolve to, because I know I used to listen to quite a few of these groups. I also listened to some old school rap. I listened to a bunch of like 80s and 90s music, things that now I go, okay, B-52s was one, Talking Heads was another, Black Crowes, of course the hair metal bands of the 80s. I used to listen to that stuff too. And now I go, okay, what the heck was I thinking? And even the I would walk 500 miles or whatever it is. That song that has got to be my ultimate not favorite song of all time. It's like because it drove me nuts. It's like um, there's whip it good. It's one of those songs that's kind of corny, but kind of cool at the same time. Oh, Firestarter from I can't think of now what it's called. Prodigy. Prodigy, that was really cool. Faith No More, that was another one. They're kind of in a metal realm. They're kind of not quite. It's probably more like a new metal sound. I would assume. I don't know. That's a good question. I'm still trying to figure out the whole kind of what to classify everything as. This is this kind of metal. This is that kind of metal. I think Raven's a little bit of a more new metal style band, kind of like Rob Zombie sound. It kind of gives you that vibe and feel. The way they kind of make it a little bit heavy, and they have heavy vocals, but then they kind of add some twists and turns in the songs to make them a little bit more unique and special because of something that's kind of their sound, their unique sound. And that's what makes a really good band what it is. Because I've seen a lot of bands that are really good. That's the one thing I didn't like about 99 Kills. They weren't they have good vocals. They have strong instrumentals, they have good songs. That's not the point. The point is I think what makes a good band a phenomenal band is when you start adding some unique layers in there that makes it unique to the band itself. Something that nobody's done that stands out, that's solid, that somebody goes, oh, I know who this band is. Korn has that feel. You know, a lot of their stuff is kind of close to the same, which it gets a little bit repetitive. But then there's some times that they add something to it, some little spice here and there, in the sound of the songs that makes them a little bit more unique. But the one thing I have noticed, and I'm not sure if anybody else has, the bass player for Korn. I hate to say this. It sounds like if you really listen to it, it almost sounds like he's playing almost the same bass lines for every single song. I don't know if maybe they just have but they do change a little bit, and there every once in a while certain things change, but there's a certain feel that he plays when he does it. But then he does add some stuff to it, but it's got this basic Korn bass feel. And then of course our lead singer does a phenomenal job, of course. And I don't know everybody's name, unfortunately. That's the one thing I still got to remember. See, that's the problem, is there's so many bands out there. There's so many different people's names for each one of the bands. Even my one coworker that I know that introduced me to Obituary doesn't even know the lead singer's name. And now I used to know it, and now I forgot it. But anyway, it's one of those things. It's kind of crazy. But it's really good. I mean, that's one of the things I want to do is learn different people's names. I know Raven Black is the lead singer for that. I know a couple other bands. They have Max and Igor Cavalera, and then the guys from Sepultura. I know some of their names, and who else? Different bands. But I definitely know the bands. I definitely know the songs, and I definitely know quite a few of the lyrics. Not every group I know, because there are some bands out there that are so deep in their sounds that I can't always make out everything they say. Raven Black does a pretty good job of getting heavy, but you can still understand. Obituary does a pretty good job with that, I think, too. There are some bands that are a little bit more heavy. Scar the Martyr is one that I think might be a little bit more heavy, but some of it you can still really hear. Decapitated, that is another one. I'm trying to think some other bands that are like that, because I got so many different bands going. I'd have to have a list, which I don't have, unfortunately. But the ones that are like ones that I think are really heavy and some that are not really heavy, or kind of like Death. Death is one that's pretty heavy, but it's still almost there where you can understand most of the lyrics. And Death is really good. And I thought there was a list above this actually. Oh yeah, here's some of the was it some of the top metal bands actually. I'll give you a couple of those real quick. I'll do the top 10. How about that? Which actually 11 is Ozzy Osbourne, which is cool. But Black Sabbath is one. Of course, see metal bands. See, they are metal, but they're kind of like they're not quite super heavy metal. They're more like a lighter metal. Iron Maiden, of course, is 2. Metallica is number 3, which we all know. I'm sure. Which for the biggest metal bands, I think Metallica's probably even outranked Iron Maiden. But